sought to harness dark and mysterious forces buried for centuries. They believed their discoveries would assure Germany's ultimate victory. But they could never have imagined was just what else their research would unearth.
So, what's up guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing, welcome back to another zombies video on my channel. Hopefully you are all having an awesome day as usual. If you do go on to enjoy this one, you know what to do, drop me a like rating. If not, it's totally fine, I love you guys anyway. Here we are. So, a new cipher again has been found within Der Eisendrache. I was about to say Shadows of Evil because it is like that map, we have so many ciphers within here, it's hard to get through them all, but I am going through them slowly. I've covered so many on my channel already. If you are interested, if you haven't subbed already, you should do that. But this cipher can be found next to Samantha's room, Max's room, and the room opposite, which is where Richtofen stayed. If you come over to this location on the map, you will find this cipher lying on the floor, embedded in with all of these other papers. It is quite difficult to find, but don't worry yourselves, this has already been decoded. I'm going to tell you guys what it means right now, and it's actually a pretty big implication to our zombie storyline. Here we go. After the great battle, they stood up on the mound. Their light shone down and cleansed all of the sickness for as far as the eye could see. They are the first, they are the last visions of fractured worlds and strange rooms haunted our dreams. So the first thing that comes to my mind anyway is the premise image that we got first in Origins. In Origins, when we put all of these pieces of scrap paper together, we get this image, and recently we've only really discovered the true meaning behind this. Still, to this day, we still don't fully understand it, but we do have a better idea of what this is. Premises are four original characters, Takeo, Dempsey, Nikolai, and Richtofen. Within this image, you can see exactly what this cipher, this wording, is describing. After the great battle, they stood up on the mound. You can see our four characters standing up on this rock, on the mound. They are above all of the other people. Their light shone down and cleansed all of the sickness for as far as the eye could see. We have our characters holding up their origin staffs, the original origin staffs, and the light is shining down into the people in front of them. As the cipher says, it seems that these people are sick, and what our characters are doing is healing them, which is usually a power you would associate to a god, but we'll get more into that later on into the video. And it then just goes on to say they are the first and they are the last visions of fractured worlds and strange rooms haunted our dreams. So that gives us a bit of information as to what is now happening within this image. Before, we weren't too sure, but now we have the cipher, it clears things up just a little bit. To put it in basic terms, our characters are standing on a mound in front of tons of sick people. Some people thought they were zombies. I guess you could say they are, because that is an infection, that is a sickness. But our characters are using their staffs, the powers of that, to heal the sick. Kind of like what you would think a god would do. It says they are the first and they are the last visions of fractured worlds. Premise, which is what it says on this image, means first. We know these characters are the first original characters. These are the first ones we used. These are the original. We have many other different dimensions, but these here are our four original characters. They are the first and they are the last. As stated earlier, we found this image first in Origins, and Origins gives us a good explanation as to why we can see our characters like this. But before I get into that, this relates to other images or other things we've actually seen in our zombies maps before. If we go over to Shadows of Evil, if we go down to the ancient room where we first awaken the Apothicans, if you take a look on the walls you can build using the gateworms, we can see this great battle, the great battle that is described within the cipher, taking place on these walls in Shadows of Evil. The great battle between our four original characters and the Apothicans. We know from quotes and just different bits of details that this battle, the great battle between our four characters and the Apothicans, took place many I've said that wrong, Governor. Many years ago. Take a listen to this. This is what Samantha says when you finally complete the Origins Easter egg. We all thought Origins was the ending. And in a way, Origins was the end. Origins was also the beginning. This great battle was just the beginning of our zombie storyline. So anyway, take a listen. This is what happens when you finally free Samantha from our Gotha.
As the gates to Agartha opened, the four heroes were rewarded with riches beyond imagination. From that day forward, they knew that Samantha would keep them safe. Forever.
So there we go, when the gates to Agartha opened, our four heroes, our original four characters, were rewarded with riches beyond their imagination, with riches, power, everything. Recently, they have been bringing Primus up a lot within Shadows of Evil. We've had a number of different quotes to do with Primus. We've had Primus will fail, and actually, if you are still confused about this, Jessica may just help you out.
I'm a fast reader. Blah, 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 blah. For 2 millennia, the Keepers kept the forces of darkness at bay. That power is always dormant, just waiting to be awoken. Just as it was on the battlefields of the Great War.
We know within Shadows of Evil, the Keepers have been fighting the Apothicans for a long time, recently trying to stop them from getting their hands on the summoning key, but we can also learn from this that the Keepers were fighting alongside our original 4 characters against the Apothicans. And I think this battle that took place many years ago, hundreds of thousands, millenniums of years ago, is starting to take effect again. The Apothicans have been awoken. Takeo brings up a lot of memories, or a lot of thoughts to do with the Apothicans that he really shouldn't be having. We have the cipher in Shadows of Evil that says, although they have discovered the way Primus, which we know are our original 4 characters, it says that they will fail. Although they have discovered the way, they will fail. In fact, a couple of very interesting pictures, portraits, images around the Eisendrache show us the events that took place on this great battle. You can see here we have this massive alien creature that we can see flying in the sky that we awaken with in Shadows of Evil. We can learn from this image that it was alive many years ago. We get these images around the map. You can see we have a knight that is going to battle. If you take a look on our Shadows of Evil wall, you will see this same knight going to battle within the Great War. These images actually show you the progression of what happened throughout this Great War. We can see we have a few different knights. Come over to this one where they are going into battle, but then we move over to here and we see one of our knights is shot in the chest with an arrow. They are dead. Something interesting, and I know a lot of people aren't sure what this is, but I make this out to be Leroy. This looks extremely like Leroy, the big guy, the giant that we find in Buried. To me, it looks like he is there, leaning over with his head possibly on a rock. He has them same dungarees on. In fact, if you compare images, you can see this does, to me, look exactly like Leroy, but he is bending over. Oh. We basically have no background about this character. We don't know why he is here, but we find him locked in a cell within Buried. And we know Buried is the last time we saw our transit crew. This is where we can see our transit crew die. Part of the Easter egg within Buried is to go up to Round Infinity, and on Round Infinity you have to search for your dead body, therefore hinting towards or showing us that our characters from transit do eventually die, which is what we see in the map Buried, hence part of the reason why we never play them again. There are many questions around Origins. Origins takes place in 1918. The controller of the zombies, from what we can tell, is Samantha. Samantha is trapped in Argotha, but we know that she only took control of the zombies after the Giant, or after Doris, when she was teleported over to the MPD. Griffin Station, we know, was constructed around the MPD during the time of Doris, but since Origins takes place before Doris, Samantha is not teleported to the moon. She isn't inside of the MPD. So how is Samantha in Argotha, and how is she controlling these zombies? Now again, I've done a few videos on this before. Origins is a loop, exactly like what takes place all throughout our zombie storyline. Whenever we die, our characters just get set back to the start. The best way to explain it is just think of it as Mob of the Dead. In Mob of the Dead, the only way to break the cycle, the only way to escape Alcatraz is to, well, break the cycle, and to break it, you have to make sure you complete it right. To break the cycle, the Weasel needs to kill all of the other 3 characters, and that will end the game. You will then no longer respawn. The devil, whoever's controlling them zombies within Alcatraz, within Mob of the Dead, won't start you over again. He won't, I guess you could say, make that loop play over again. Whereas if the Weasel dies, the loop will continue, and you will just end up back in Purgatory in Alcatraz, where you have to revive your dead body, and you have to go and do the Easter egg again. A similar thing is taking place in Origins. Samantha mentions about these characters being here before. She says, don't you remember? Possibly not hinting towards our characters being here before, at least not these characters anyway, but more telling us that our characters, the characters that we are using in Origins, their ancestors were here before, fighting the great battle. And like stated, because the Apothicans have been awakened, they have been released, we know for a very long time they have been trapped under Morgue City, and even now into Eisendrache we can see they are starting to take effect again. I think the great battle is going to take place once again. Takeo, out of all of the other 3 characters, seems to be the main one that is getting these memories of this great battle, that is having these strange visions, and this goes to the last part of our cipher. They are the first, they are the last visions of fractured worlds and strange rooms haunted our dreams. Takeo has seen a vision of Samantha in her house. We know the main goal of our characters is to make sure Samantha and Eddie are safe, but we don't know where they are. They have been placed in their very own bubble in their house and have been teleported to a location so they will be safe from the Apothicans, so the Apothicans don't know where they are, so they can't get them. But whilst doing that, they have also lost them. They don't know where exactly they have teleported them to. And therefore, Maxis's goal, and I guess you could say the other characters as well, is to make sure they find them, make sure they are safe before before the Apothicans get them. If the Apothicans do get Samantha and Edward, they can do a lot of damage. They could do a great deal of damage. The powers that these two children hold could allow the Apothicans to open up a gateway to allow all of their other ancestors to enter Earth and inherit Earth for themselves. I think Samantha and Eddie have an imagination that is that strong that whatever they do believe, whatever they play in their games in their head, it isn't exactly what we thought at first, where this whole zombie storyline is a game made up by these two kids, but in fact it is showing that their imagination is that strong that whatever they think can actually come into play within the real world. Therefore, the Apothicans could use this to their advantage. But of course, that is just a theory. They could also attempt this by getting the summoning key, but we know right now Richtofen has the summoning key, which he is currently using to collect the souls of our original 4 characters. Recently in Eisendrache, we know Dempsey killed himself and Richtofen used the summoning key to collect his soul. I think Richtofen needs all 4 of their characters' souls. We also know in the Giant Richtofen collected his soul as well. I think as we go on through DLC 2 and 3, Richtofen in both of those maps is going to collect Takeo and Nikolai's soul, because those are the original. As Dempsey states, that is Dempsey 1.0. Those are the characters that we first started playing as, the characters that Richtofen experimented on. And the only question is, why does he need these souls? We know Richtofen says he has a plan. As I said, I think this great battle is starting to take place again. And who are the characters, who are the people that first fought and defeated the Apothicans? Well, that was Primus. And that's what Richtofen is doing again. He's trying to simulate or recreate what happened on the great battlefield by collecting our original characters' souls, because in some way I think he will use them to once again defeat the Apothicans. I don't know guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below, but I think it's a sick cipher. It gives us a ton of information and we actually have so much more that we can relate to this, and eventually when we do find every cipher within Eisendrache, we can finally bring them all together, and I think you can make an awesome video just by linking them all up and comparing them. For right now, I don't think this video is completely finished because we still have things that we haven't found within our zombie storyline or even within this map just yet. But when we do, we are going to have something epic. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, I've put so much effort into it. I always do. If you could drop me a like rating, that'd be awesome. If not, you guys are awesome anyway. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. It's a big thing to debate. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching and goodbye.